Welcome to Money Hangout once again. Every week we try and pick an area of your interest, something which is top of your mind, help you understand mutual funds, and also try and answer your questions. This is brought to you by Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund and Value Research. Today we are going to talk about something which is not now, but it is always top of our mind. How to go about buying our house, or maybe investing to buy our house. How to invest to buy a house. And this is where it's a big decision. Indian houses are expensive. They're expensive relative to anywhere else in the world. uh, on a relative scale, for all segments of the society, the kind of houses that we need, uh, it should be considered as a relatively more expensive thing in India than anywhere else in the world. That apart, it comes with a great deal of anxiety. The house that you buy, till recently it was not regulated. The Real Estate Regulation Act is a relatively new thing, so consumer interest being protected there. That apart, so we have there is it's not only going by the scale of it, going by the scale of this buying decision. It is perhaps the biggest financial decision that we take in our life. And so far it was unregulated, so it was quite vulnerable to a decision which might be right. You would have done all the due diligence, despite that things not going wrong, not going right, not getting the house in time. A delay of 5 years sometimes in and around Delhi is considered to be quite normal. So in that context, all your planning goes haywire. So how to go about buying a house, and should you ever invest in a house? Of course, by now most of our listeners, all the people, many people coming to our website will have an understanding that why never to invest in a house. And I think a lot of people are just reconciling to the whole idea. But why not? So first and foremost, why not to invest in a house? You should buy a house. You should buy a house in which you plan to live in. You should start staying there. That's the only house we should. And in fact, generally speaking, I always say that never borrow to invest. And generally speaking, one should also not be borrowing for anything unless it is an emergency. And the only borrowing which justifies for an individual is buying a house, because home loans are relatively cheaper. You get the tax break as well. You start saving on the rent, and then it is a long-term debt. So even if you have to accumulate your save, even if you have more surplus on an ongoing basis, it is better to be investing regularly, because a home loan of this term, 10 year, 15 year, my understanding is that any investment in equity by way through SIP will be generating more return than the interest that you will incur on your home loan. So this is the only loan which only long-term borrowing, only long-term loan which is justified for an individual. Why you should not, I would just like to summarize that why you should not never consider investing in a house. One is poor liquidity. uh, you can't really buy and sell houses at will, and there are times when it becomes almost impossible to buy it, or impossible to sell. Not only that, the form in which you get the money, a lot of homes, your ability to sell home becomes constrained by the cash component which you will derive, or if the price has gone up but you may not be able to realize all the money. So poor liquidity and the form in which you get the money back may not be desirable. It becomes illegitimate. Big ticket size. We talk of SIP. You can do it with 500 rupee, you can do it with 5000 rupee. Here you can't think of anything till it is a reasonably large scale. So taking a big bet, a foreign investment, and that too in a leveraged way, if you're borrowing for it, it becomes quite questionable. Uh, Need to be sold at one go. You can't really, you don't have the diversified piece unless until you are a large real estate investor who has, 5, 10 houses, so that you are able to diversify it. Then comes the manageability. Uh, Buying house is not enough. You have to keep it going. You have to make sure that it is in a form which is rentable, or it is sellable, or it's a good thing to actually show it to a customer who turns up for buying. So the upkeep of a house is, you have to see that whether you are geared, you have the resources to make that happen. Uh, Many a times we don't have a transparent open market. There is a lack of data when it comes to mutual funds, when it comes to any other investment, organized investment which is regulated. You know what's the basis of it? It may be good, it may be bad, but there is a basis to it. Here we don't know what the last pricing was, where what happened in the neighborhood, who bought what with what motivations, and why a transaction happened at a certain price. So I would say that these are these are quite complicated things. Then comes, how the community comes up, how the surrounding comes up, how that particular location comes up. There are a lot of ifs and buts. The places there, in Delhi, I have seen that whole surrounding, the whole city, the real estate transaction has been happening in areas in anticipation of the metro connectivity coming up, and sometimes that wait could be 5 year, 10 year, and maybe it could just be fiction. So validating all those things becomes difficult. But generally speaking, house house prices do go up where the work areas evolve, develop, and new areas, superior connectivity. So these are all in the realms of uncertainty around future, and most investments do have it. So do have real estate, but the ticket size, lack of transparency, these are serious concerns. Then comes, how much should you stretch? Many a times, when it comes to buying a house, we try and think of distant future, when we will have our grandchildren, and how the house should be geared to. And of course, one should be little liberal, or little uh, not so conservative in doing the estimation. But still, I think the kind of houses that we are going to live in, the community living that has been enabled by this high-rise developments, I think it is not a bad idea to be, maybe changing your house twice in a lifetime, depending on your needs or changing needs. House may not qualify as what we have seen in the past generation, that a house is to be had and had forever. Things might change, your needs might change, uh, the social, or your ability to maintain the size, the scale, everything can change. Also the maintainability of it. If you are actually a proportionate owner of the land, it's different to have a bungalow where you bought a land, you build a house. When you buy a flat, things do go out of fashion. Things get phased out, or things are not as they require maintenance, which may not, or the upkeep, which may not be keeping pace with your requirements. So things might be, it might have a value, but you would like to live in a newer, smarter, well-designed, superior, with modern materials, which might change over time. So things might change, and so can your thinking. And so maybe you should think about the long term and the long term viability, or need of your house. But maybe too long term in the distant future may not be required. Make sure that you're not stretching, because many a times we go and buy a house with that mindset that a house is forever, and we stretch ourselves beyond a point of being constrained in our day-to-day living. That is undesirable. Make sure that in the worst of situation, you are not spending more than a third of your income, if and ensure, of course, it is a third is not a thumb rule, because it can well be a function of the scale of your earning. But generally speaking, if you are able to spend all your money, if you are not able to save substantially, then make sure that not no more than a third of your income goes towards that, towards paying your EMI. That will make sure that you have a reasonable balance of your other spending requirement that you might have. And one critical thing which is far more important in North India, but could be a problem across the country, that now, of course, we have the Real Estate Regulation Act. This regulation has come about, and we have to see that how it gets implemented, how it succeeds in protecting the buyer's interest. But still, there is a problem here. This is an area where what you hear is not what you get. What you are being promised is not that is not when you get. A 5-year delay in and around Delhi is quite normal. And similar situation could be there in other parts of the country, though I'm not very aware of it. But other parts of the country, I'm told that they're much better. But this is absolutely not negotiable. Real Estate Regulation Act has provided for, has made some provision to penalize the builders, the realtors who actually sell uh, these projects. But eventually, is it worth the heartburn? So make sure that whenever you decide, you are deciding based on the state of the project, the likelihood of getting it, and taking a measured bet, not a long. You can't really see a land and buy into a plan. That is something which will throw surprises. And of course, the due diligence that you can exercise now. Real Estate Regulation Act definitely makes it much easier for investors or buyers to exercise diligence. You can see the documents, make sure that it is all, and you can also ensure that what what is the carpet area of the house that you are buying. So it definitely brings about a great degree of transparency, ability to validate those things, but making sure that you are likely to buy a house which you will definitely get it in a defined time period which you have planned for is very important, and you can only do the subjective evaluation. Now the critical question is, this is all about how to go about the framework that you should follow when considering buying a house. But then comes how to go about making investment. If you are planning to buy a house anytime 2-3 years from now, 5 years from now, 7 years from now, how you should go about investing. My advice will be that go aggressive with your investment for this. Be regular with your investment. Do your SIP. Never invest lump sum. And make sure that you are investing in a reasonably. So choose your multi-cap fund. Uh, and why I'm saying so, why I'm not asking you to be very conservative here, because this is a negotiable goal. And this negotiable goal, meaning if you plan to buy your house in 3 to 5 years time frame, there is a possibility. It doesn't hurt to buy your house just after 2.5 years if you get lucky with your investments. It also doesn't hurt to postpone your buying decision if your investments are still accumulating and it has not done as well as expected. And if it takes 5 to 6 years, it doesn't matter. So there is a great deal of negotiability about your negotiability of the time frame. So having this time frame, so get aggressive, and if you get lucky, go ahead with that. Two thumb rules to follow, which I generally think is good to err on the side of caution or be a little conservative. Make sure that you are not going to pay more than a third of your income by way of EMI, and make sure that you are putting 25%, 20 to 25% as the down payment. That will reduce your EMI. At the same time, you will have reasonable equity. It will not be a speculative investment. And by what I was suggesting earlier, that if you will be able to save your rental outflow in 1 year's time frame after taking this decision, that will be additional saving. So the EMI will be a problem only for the time period when you are actually living in the rented house while you have started paying for the house that you have bought. So that's all there to it. Get aggressive with for your home. Don't think in terms of investing in a house. Buy a house which you plan to live in. Buy a house which you are likely to live. You will start living in next 1 year's time, after you have initiated the whole plan, or you have triggered the whole purchase decision. And make sure, and this is make sure that you're not borrowing your borrowing is not of a scale which will take more than a third. And make sure that you have 20-25% of your equity, of your contribution down payment going to buy this house.